control my breathing by itself. It was, I don't know if there was something going on with the antibiotic that some of that was actually happening, but I felt like I had to breathe in and out consciously to keep myself alive. Um, just feeling my heart, thinking that the twitch was my heartbeat, just feeling it beat so fast was a scary thing that kind of perpetuated itself. And I was convinced that the Cipro had done me in, which it may have, but at that point I thought it was imminent. And this was, for 30 minutes of terror, just sitting in there and yelling. They must have thought I was crazy. Yelling about the Cipro and telling someone please to hook me up to a heart monitor, over and over, nearly getting up, and they had to call the security guy over because I was making so much noise. But nobody, thinking back on it, nobody ever came over and was just like, hey, your vitals are okay, you're gonna be alright, man. Nobody really comforted me, which would have been nice. It felt like, thinking back on it, I kind of know what it was. It felt like if I relaxed, even if I tried to breathe slowly, that my heart would just beat faster. But really, that was just the spasm that I was hearing. Because for some reason the spasm seems to go faster when I'm relaxed. It builds, it grows. But if I'm shaking my leg or doing something really rapid, don't really notice it much. I thought that was my heartbeat when I was in the ER, and of course that made me panic more. I think my heart was up to like 160 or something. So they ended up finally taking me in to get an x-ray, and I didn't want to move, and there was these young nurses there, and I told them some stuff because I thought I wasn't going to make it. And they were trying to move me around for the x-ray, and I couldn't move. I was under so much panic. I almost panicked so much I caused myself to pass out. I felt my fingers get all numb. And they wheeled me back into the original room, and I was in that room, and for a little bit more, and the nurse finally came in, and I was just saying, "Oh, tell my mom I love her." I thought I was, they started talking about sedation. I thought I was going to be done, because if I'm controlling my own breathing and I get sedated, then it's over. I thought about escaping for a second, just running. They had an officer right there at the door, and she was like, "Officer, please watch him." I was like, "It's no use." For a second, when she grabbed my arm, I tried to resist for a sec. She pulled it back over, and I was like, "There's an officer right there. It doesn't matter." So she injected me. Injected me with 2 milligrams Ativan, which, thinking back on it, that's a lot for me. and that should have zonked me out, but I was so hyped up that I managed to like keep my eyes open. I was talking to the officer like, you believe in an afterlife and something else. You see, when you don't believe in God or anything else, or any justice, any higher power, death is a lot scarier thing. I think that's true now. I was so scared. Then when I began to get sedated, I calmed down a little. I just had phases of waking up and people having me do this and going into the bathroom. All of a sudden I was hooked up to an IV and talking to people. Another doctor came in, and I remember hearing somebody say he wanted to keep me overnight. So they wheeled me up there, a pretty fancy bed, fancy equipment. Nurses take care of you on IV, get hooked up. The bed inflates back and forth, and I thought, oh, I just had this spasm. Woke up. The nurses there they gave me another gram of Ativan or whatever that helped me sleep for like 4 or 5 hours. But, I ended up staying about 3 or 4 days in the hospital. Various gastro people would come in and talk to me. They sent a psychologist in there who pretty much wanted to commit me. It was like a Nazi Indian shrink, because of how I had acted before. And I told her, yeah, I've been depressed. She didn't think much of the spasm that I said I had, and nobody there thought much of the spasm, because when the gastros would look up there wasn't very good communication. I asked them if they could see the spasm, and they came to the conclusion that I just had an anal fissure. Nobody really addressed the spasm. They must have thought that I meant a occasional spasm. So eventually the diagnosis was, I had some people visit me, which was nice. My mom, my friends. But I was still in a lot of fear about what was going to happen to me because of this twitch. And I felt that the Cipro had done it. And the whole time I had to try to keep working and get work done on my laptop. And finally the anal surgeon came in there and said, you have an anal fissure, just eat fruits and vegetables, take laxative, eventually spasm will go away. Use this cream that we finally got a hold of. And I denied the sigmoid when I was up there, and I denied the enema, so I didn't think sigmoid would show anything. I thought I just had a spasm that I had to put some cream on and it would get better. So they dismissed me. My friend Steven picked me up, took me out to get the cream. I didn't want to go back to my roommate's place because of all the pain I had been in there recently and just the whole terror that I had felt while I was there before I left. So I went to stay with my mom, and that'll be the second part of this room. It's even more